Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy from the Hummingbird Nest, and I decided to go live this morning. I was going to read you a book on Thursday, and I scheduled that live, and then I had to cancel it. And this seems to be representative of a lot of my July and August so far, even though we're just into August. Whereas my plans are changing, I'm rescheduling things. I'm just kind of feeling like I've made a lot of changes. So I wanted to go live and read to you a beautiful little book because I think I need a little bit of it as well. And really, my changing things has really been a lot about boundary setting or lack of setting boundaries. So I think this book will help me as much as I hope it will help you. So it's about 15 minutes long, and I will be posting this following the reading. So you'll be able to catch it on the recorded live. And if you're joining me in the recorded edition, welcome. So this book was born from a friend of mine. Her name is Shannon Speaks. And I was a part of a beautiful group of hers where we created manifestos. And out of that group came this book, which is called Little Grace. And it's a book about self-compassion for helpers and caregivers. So again, written by Shannon Speaks and illustrated by Terry Stefanko. And I just want to mention now, in case I forget at the end, that this book is available through Amazon, and it's a wonderful book for yourself, but also to give people in your life who are helpers and caregivers. So let's start reading Little Grace. Dear friend, if you spend your days caring, helping, listening, or showing up for others, you're in the right place. You already know how it feels to give deeply and how easily your own needs can slip quietly to the side. And maybe when something small goes wrong, a voice inside shows up, quick to judge, quick to ask, what's wrong with you? You're not alone. You're among many who hear that voice when things go sideways. But that critical voice isn't alone either. Another voice exists within, steady, kind, and clear. What if you turned your attention toward that voice? This little book, the first in the Little Grace series, is for those who give endlessly to others, who often forget to include themselves, and who are ready to strengthen the inner voice of grace and kindness. Little Grace is here to remind you that self-compassion isn't selfish, it's essential. When we offer grace inward, we don't take away from others. We expand what's possible for everyone. It's time for a little grace for you too. Hello, Lynn. I'm just reading a beautiful little book that a friend of mine wrote called Little Grace, and it's all about self-compassion for helpers and caregivers. A note before you begin. You don't need a lot of extra time for this book, just a moment, a breath between things, a pause that meets you right where you already are. These pages are meant to invite recognition, reflection, rest, and a reminder that grace lives inside everyday moments. Within these pages, you'll find glimpses of familiar scenes in the life of a caregiver. Times when the inner critic takes over and tilts the story. Then something shifts. Little Grace appears, bringing a new way of being with ourselves. Notice what happens when judgment shares the space with grace. Notice what changes not only in the story, but within you as you read. Along the way, you'll notice gentle what if questions whispered through the pages. These are called affirmations. An affirmation is a small invitation for compassion and curiosity. Unlike affirmations that declare a truth, affirmations invite us to wonder about one. They meet us where we are and ask, what if something kinder could be true? Just reading the question plants a seed of possibility. As you reach the final section, you'll find a brief neuroscience-informed look at what's happening beneath the surface, a bit of understanding that may illuminate both the tender and fierce power of self-compassion. It happened again. Something small, but the voice in her head was not small at all. Seriously, what's wrong with you? You meant to send it. You really did, but the card got buried, perfectly hid. Under a pile of folded clothes, a stack of papers, who even knows? You found it weeks later, or was it more? Still unsigned on the office floor. Your chest went tight, you looked away. You never get it right, is what you heard that voice say. And I just want to show you some of these pictures. You've got clouds as we're reading at this point of the book. You lost your cool, the words flew out. The looks you got, confusion, doubt. You're usually calm, you know the drill, but you were so tired you'd had your fill. No time to pause, no space to feel. One more request, what is the deal? Your jaw was clenched, your fists were too, and in your head, yet another thing you blew. So many roles, it's hard to discern which fire to put out, which lesson to learn. The people, the pets, the house, the job. Who for the love has time for a jog? You moved all day, you played your role, yet the energy drained within your soul. And in your head, it sounded crazy. I do all this and I still feel lazy. The voice in your head, it holds on tight to the loop of wrong and not quite right. But something is shifting beneath the bustle, not one more task, but a break from the hustle. The sound of compassion you already know, a voice from your heart starting to grow. You've spoken it often to those in your care, but offering it inward, now that feels rare. Then she appears, not pushy, not grand, like a dear friend reaching out her hand. And I want to show you how little Grace starts to appear on just the edge of the paper. She doesn't advise, she doesn't explain. She asks a few questions without a hint of blame. And she's popping in a little bit more. What if, she inquires, there's room for one more, not just the critic who keeps a strict score? What if my voice could join in too, a compassionate voice that sounds more like you? The you who sees suffering, plant, creature, or kin, and calls on compassion that rises within. The you who sees suffering and knows what to do, to steady, to soften, to fiercely stay true. To the caregiver inside who's been here all along, ready to give care to you, just as steady and strong. Then we see all of little Grace. What if we practice just you and me, bringing compassion to what we see, the everyday stumbles, the struggles we face? What if they're met with little grace. It's a tongue twister. It happened again, something small. You noticed a voice, judgy and tall. What if you answer with kindness today? I see that you're here with something to say. Those harsh words feel real, but here's what is true. You hold many voices and you can choose what to do. You found it again, still unsigned and unsent. Your body feels heavy, your energy spent. What if you notice the feelings that rise, the shame in your face, the tears in your eyes? What if you sense where they land in your chest and simply allow them a moment of rest? What if you pause here just long enough to whisper with kindness, this moment is tough? And for just a moment, you let yourself stay aware you're hurting in a new, tender way. I just want to show you little Grace on this page. Isn't she adorable? You lost your cool, your patience ran thin, and right on its heels, that harsh voice came in. What if you remember you're not on your own? Each person has moments they wish were unknown. What if mistakes don't make you unkind, but show you belong to all humankind? What if these stumbles connect you instead, reminding you clearly you're not alone, my friend? So many roles, it's hard to discern which fire to put out, which lesson to learn. What if in struggle you practice instead a voice that is kind with me in your head? What if you pause just a breath or two and offer yourself the words you need to? It might be a whisper, you're stronger than you think. It might be a prayer or some tea to drink. It might be a hand resting soft on your heart or moving your body through music or art. There isn't one way, so many, it's true. What matters is choosing kindness for you. I'm not here to promise your struggles will cease or wave them away with some instant peace. I'm here to remind you you don't walk alone, that pain is a language each heart has known. What if instead you learn how to stay with voices, with feelings that come through the day? To notice with kindness, to breathe and be still, to soften the judgment and let it just chill. To remember that others too stumble and fall, and kindness to self is the bravest of all. Awareness, mindfulness, humanity too, self-kindness in action, all waiting in you. Not to solve or to fix or to make disappear, instead to bring kindness with little Grace near. There's Grace up on top of the cloud, being kind to herself. Little Grace is more than a story. She's a guide for how we relate to ourselves. I'm not going to read the pages that follow. They're a little bit of the neuroscience. I'm going to leave that for today, and I'm going to maybe encourage you, if you really enjoyed this book and if you think that it might help others who are caregivers, or if you'd like to have a copy of it yourself, that you go over to Amazon where it's available to purchase. And also in the book, I'm just going to go to the end here where there's little, I'm just going to read the closing reflection. Grace isn't something we earn, it's something we remember. Each moment of noticing, each breath of kindness, each what if brings us closer to the part of us that's been here all along. Sometimes it's tender and sometimes it's fierce, but it's always here when you need it. May these pages help you return again and again to the grace that's already yours. Signed, Little Grace. And in the book, they've also included some little cutout, little graces. I don't know in Canada here, and I think in the US as well. I don't know if in the UK this is true, but there's a program in school called, I think it's in about grade 5, called Flat Stanley, where students are asked to carry Flat Stanley around with them. There's a whole story about that. But this kind of follows that same notion where you can carry Lil Grace with you in times when you may need to have a reminder. You can keep her on a cluttered desk or a workspace, in a journal or a planner, on a mirror or dashboard, on top of a laundry pile, inside a favorite book, in your wallet or bag, on a windowsill or quiet corner. Anywhere else your inner critic shows up, you can have Little Grace there with you. So I hope you enjoyed this book, Little Grace. And again, I just want to mention one more time, give a shout out to my friend Shannon Speaks, who wrote this book. And I was fortunate enough to be on it's not a committee. What do I want to call it? It was a focus group that helped to look at all the different parts of this book and comment on it. And it was very kind of her to involve others in that process. So thank you, Shannon, for giving me permission to read your book, and illustrated by Terry Stefanko. Thank you, Terry. It's a beautiful book you've illustrated here. And I just want to encourage everybody to give themselves a little grace as you proceed through your week and beyond. And I will see you next time with another story sometime in the Hummingbird Nest. Bye for now. Bye, Lynn. Thank you so much for staying tuned in for the whole reading. I really appreciate it. Bye.